Good evening, I'm Britt Clennett in Hong Kong and welcome to ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show. CY Leung admits he made changes in LegCo document probing his UGL payment scandal, leaving DAB lawmaker Holden Chow in the hot seat. Murray Road land site fetches more than $23 billion in bumper government land sale. Donald Trump's battling claims he jeopardized national security by sharing intelligence with Russia via Twitter. Well, we begin with the latest on the uproar over CY Leung's alleged interference in a LegCo probe of the $50 million payment he received from Australian firm UGL. The chief executive says the changes he made in a select committee document were aimed at making the investigation more comprehensive. Speaking ahead of his Tuesday meeting with ExCo, he says he approached pro-establishment lawmaker Holden Chow in March and suggested an expansion of the scope of investigation. He added he was willing even to detail the revisions he made. At the same time, he said that the leaking of the document was unacceptable and accused the person responsible of breaching the Select Committee's confidentiality agreement.
I think the investigation could actually be conducted in broad daylight. A closed-door meeting isn't necessary. But someone has leaked what's meant to be kept secret right after the meeting. That, I think, is a violation of LegCo regulations, and the council should conduct a probe into it.
Well, lawmakers reacted with anger over the revelations and reported Leung to the ICAC. 4 members of the Select Committee also called for Holden Chow to recuse himself from the investigation. Members of the Democratic Party and Hong Kong First visited ICAC headquarters in North Point. The group accused Leung and Chow of misconduct, alleging that the pair had colluded to interfere with the probe. Lawmakers, including Kenneth Leung and Lam Cheuk Ting, wrote to committee chairman Paul Tse. They want Chow to be cut out of the investigation.
We didn't know at which point did Mr. Chow started communicating with Mr. Leung, nor can we be able to tell the views expressed by Mr. Chow. Were they Mr. Chow's own view, or is he speaking on behalf of another person? So I think the best way to enable the committee to move forward, to retain its integrity and independence, would be for Mr. Chow to withdraw from the membership of the committee. Of course.
And away from the UGL probe fiasco, CY Leung was guest of honour at the opening of Hong Kong Disney's Explorer Lodge. It's the park's new hotel concept situated on the seafront. The tropical-themed resort features 750 rooms priced from $2,200 per night onwards. Managing Director Samuel Lau today said he was elated LegCo approved the government's $1.4 billion cash injection for the park's expansion and that the company would try its best to speed up construction. To the US, and the latest on reports Donald Trump disclosed highly classified information to Russia's foreign minister during their meeting last week. Well, the president is now defending his decision to share information with Sergei Lavrov. On Twitter, he wrote, "I wanted to share with Russia at an openly scheduled White House meeting, which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to terrorism and airline flight safety. Humanitarian reasons, plus I want Russia to greatly step up their fight against ISIS and terrorism." Claims by US officials about the information Trump shared with Lavrov sparked an uproar over national security. Earlier, National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster poured cold water over any suggestion the president jeopardized a source of intelligence over Islamic State.
The president and the foreign minister reviewed a range of common threats to our two countries, including threats to civil aviation. At no time were intelligence sources or methods discussed, and the president did not disclose any military operations that were not already publicly known. 2 other senior officials who were present, including the Secretary of State, remember the meeting the same way and have said so. Their on-the-record accounts should outweigh those of anonymous sources. And I was in the room. It didn't happen.
A renowned Mexican journalist known for his drug trade coverage was shot dead in Mexico's sovereign state of Sinaloa, where violent crimes are rampant. He's the 5th journalist killed in the country this year. Samantha Vadas has more details.
A Mexican journalist gunned down in the lawless state of Sinaloa. Javier Valdez laying lifeless in the street in the capital after attackers opened fire on his car on Monday. He's the 5th reporter to have been killed in Mexico in recent months, as authorities struggle to contain the country's warring drug cartels. Award-winning Valdez was renowned for his coverage of organised crime. He also published a book about the dangers journalists face covering the rampant crime and corruption gripping Mexico. His death has shaken other journalists in the country, one of the most dangerous places in the world to do the job. Since the year 2000, more than 120 journalists have been killed. Most of the attacks on the media go unpunished.
Next to a massive drug bust off the coast of Ecuador, officials found 5.5 tons of cocaine bound for Spain worth millions of euros. Eve Johnson with the story.
5.5 tons of cocaine seized off the coast of Ecuador on Monday. 20 crew members arrested in the bust. Officials say the shipment was organized by a drug ring in Spain and was heading there, carrying a haul worth millions of euros. Packages of cocaine were floating in the ship's hull. Spain's ambassador praised the success of the operation.
This is a good example of the commitment of both countries to this issue and our willingness to continue working with Ecuador. We hope in the future to conclude negotiations on a bilateral convention on drugs.
Drug traffickers have stepped up their trade on the high seas recently. Spanish police earlier seized 2 tons of cocaine from a ship sailing the Atlantic, flying a Venezuelan flag.
Tensions are running high in western Venezuela, where another person has been killed during protests against President Nicolas Maduro. Demonstrators threw rocks at police and set vehicles on fire, while officers fired back with tear gas. 18-year-old Luis Alvarez was killed during violent protests in Palmyra. Dozens have been killed in the past 6 weeks of anti-government demonstrations. A police officer is also in critical condition after being shot in the head. And the World Wildlife Fund has warned Mexico that its vaquita population could go extinct unless urgent action is taken. The tiny snub-nosed porpoise lives in the Gulf of California. Experts say only about 40 vaquitas are left in the wild. They're threatened by gillnet fishing for shrimp and totoaba, a popular delicacy in Asia that's also endangered. Mexico's government has enlisted the help of 3 trained dolphins to locate their less fortunate cousin and bring them to a marine sanctuary. But conservationists say more needs to be done.
The objective is to have a healthy Gulf of California with sustainable fishing communities. This could take many years. The specific process involved in the vaquita recovering could take many years.
To the Ivory Coast, where mutineers continue to block roads across the country for the 4th day. Heavy gunfire erupted in the city of Bouaké as mutinous soldiers say they won't give up on their bonus demands agreed with the government in January. The payments have been delayed following the collapse in the price of cocoa. More than 200 commercial trucks were stranded on the roadside after the army sealed off the southern entrance to Bouaké. The government says it will maintain a firm line with the mutiny. Coming up next, the latest from the world of business. Well, it may just be the most expensive piece of land the world over. Henderson Land Development Company bought a government plot in downtown Central for 23.3 billion Hong Kong dollars. The transaction is a record for land sold by the government in the city. The Murray Road site, which is now a public car park, exceeded sales valuations on the auction floor by several $1 million. It's likely the plot of land will be developed into a commercial building, with each square foot earmarked at around 51,600 Hong Kong dollars. Henderson managed to outbid 8 other developer giants, including Cheung Kong Properties and Sun Hung Gai. Checking on some stock action, Hong Kong's 6-day share market winning streak is over, with stocks slumping lower. Let's take a look at the chart. The Hang Seng Index fell 0.14% to 25,335 points. Investors ignoring big momentum from Wall Street overnight to cash out their profits. The market was largely weighed down by the property sector over concerns Hong Kong-listed Chinese developers will suffer under a Beijing crackdown on financial leverage. One of the worst performers today was Cathay Pacific. Shares in Hong Kong's premier airline plummeted after it was booted from a key index. MSCI says it will remove Cathay at the end of May. The airline did enjoy a 3.2% boost in passenger numbers in April compared to a year earlier, but it admits its bottom line is still suffering because of intense competition, and ultimately its shares finished the day down 1.86%. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority and Bank of China have green-lighted a cross-border bond trading link dubbed Bond Connect. So-called northbound trading will begin first, allowing Hong Kong investors to tap into the mainland's bond market. It's expected to be launched before the end of the year. Financial Secretary Paul Chan welcomed the announcement. Legal experts believe Microsoft has nothing to fear despite the worldwide ransomware attack, which infected hundreds of thousands of computers. But they say businesses which failed to update Windows have exposed themselves to potential lawsuits because of their lax cybersecurity, especially if they're using outdated operating systems. Hackers used the WannaCry worm to burrow into companies which didn't have the latest security patches. It's more so a case of when, not if, we'll see self-driving cars on our roads, and two of Silicon Valley's big players are joining forces to speed this up. Fred Kariyama reports on the new partnership between Google's Waymo and ride-sharing company Lyft.
The U.S. ride services company Lyft is partnering up with Google's self-driving car unit, Waymo. Lyft said in a statement that the deal would speed up its vision for transportation. Waymo said the partnership would expand the access of its technology to more people, but neither company offered details of the agreement. Kelley Blue Book analyst Akshay Anand.
And this is really Lyft's opportunity to take some limelight from Uber and really kind of tell everyone that they are serious about becoming the #1 player in the space. From Waymo's perspective, it makes sense as well because Waymo is trying to get their technologies and their autonomous in as many places as possible. And one of the big things for an autonomous company, obviously, is getting to consumers. Lyft has that consumer base.
Lyft is a #2 ride service company in the United States with a presence in about 300 cities. The biggest ride service firm, Uber, is entrenched in a lawsuit with Waymo. A federal judge said Monday Uber must return stolen confidential files to Waymo.
Stay with us, there's plenty more to come.
I love you.
Wish you could listen to your dog bark or kid laugh wherever you go. A new trend in so-called sound wave tattoos might be for you. Don't go away.